This is a very big week for crypto, as you are all aware. July 14th officially kicked off Crypto Week in the US, which brings together the House that will deliver on the President of the United States' call to make the United States the crypto capital of the world. This includes the Clarity Act, the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, and also even the Genius Act. Now, when we think about all of this, okay, what we are witnessing in the US is the evolution of the crypto market completely. We are now starting to see legislation and regulatory discussions heating up, and this is leading to some pretty big moves to actually open up the crypto market to the US economy, the largest economy in the world. Now, let's actually go over a few things. Number one, here we have the announcement on July 3rd. July 14th is Crypto Week. Over here we have, it's going to be a big week for crypto. July 14th to the 18th could be massive for the markets. 3 bullish bills on the table. Genius Act, which is stablecoins, Anti-CBDC Surveillance Act, and then the Clarity Act, which is crypto regulatory discussions and actual clarity for crypto itself. Markets could pump or dump, stay sharp. Now, let's think about this logically. What actually is this bullish for? This is extremely bullish for utility-based crypto projects. XRP, HBAR, XLM, Algo, QNT, just to name a few, the market is opening up for these great projects. Now is the best time to move away from all the hype and speculation and tap in to utility-based plays. Over here we have Watch House leadership has officially declared next week Crypto Week on Capitol Hill. Lawmakers are set to take up the Genius Act and the Clarity Act, signaling major momentum for U.S. crypto legislation. Check it out.
There has been a tremendous amount of debate around, let's just start with the Genius Act, because that's what you're looking at when it's in regard to stablecoins. The Treasury Secretary loves the idea of stablecoins becoming bigger and bigger buyers of treasuries. We spoke to Jared Bernstein earlier this week, the Biden-era Council of Economic Advisors chair, who's worried about bailouts, who's worried about larger systemic risk. How do you think this will ultimately play out? What's the final version and passage look like?
Yeah, so the Genius Act would essentially allow stablecoin issuers like Circle a way to register with authorities. Now, whether you're a bank owned, you register with the Fed. If you're non-bank, you register with the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. And it allows them to remove the enforcement albatross around their neck and gives them the ability to move forward and say, look, this is a new industry. This is a new product, and now we have regulatory clarity so that we can move forward and at least try and grow this asset class. Now, I think this does pass the House next week. I think this does go to the president's desk. And for companies like Circle, yes, there are going to be rules and regulations that come from this that will have to play out over the next year. But now they have this clarity that they can move forward, and they're not going to have the concern that enforcement action is going to be brought up against them.
So the Genius Act is something that's been very widely picked over at this point, and a lot of people in the market are looking towards clarity now, which is more surrounding the market structure of this industry. What do you expect there?
Yeah, so the Clarity Act is a tougher sell. This is for companies like Coinbase and Robinhood. This would define what is a security versus what is a commodity and give the CFTC control over the spot markets of crypto. Now, if you're in the stablecoin space, most policymakers agree there's a regulatory gap there. Not so much to be said on the Clarity Act. There's still a lot more work that needs to be done amongst Senate Democrats. So even if the House does pass the Clarity Act next week, and the votes are probably there, it's going to go to the Senate where it's going to have to take time to cook. The Senate has said that they're probably going to not even start looking at this until September. They have their own market structure bill that they want to work at. So we're telling our clients is that we do think it can get to the president's desk, but it's most likely going to be the first half of next year, not in 2025.
So I do think that he's actually very incorrect on this, because we have heard from David Sachs saying that the Clarity Act could get passed as soon as possible once they do get it in September. Now, the big thing about the Genius Act is that we will probably have that fully signed through very soon. we got an update regarding that the Clarity Act is set for a Wednesday afternoon vote, and Genius is, it may get a Thursday morning vote. If Genius gets a Thursday morning vote, it will most likely get signed into law probably next week. The reason why I say that is because we did hear from Trump regarding the Genius Act. We have breaking President Trump comments on Genius Act with the goal of making America the undisputed leader in digital assets. The Senate just passed an incredible bill that is going to make America the undisputed leader in digital assets. Nobody will do it better. It is pure genius. Digital assets are the future and our nation is going to own it. We are talking about massive investment and big innovation. The House will hopefully move lightning fast and pass a clean Genius Act. Get it to my desk as soon as possible. No delays, no add-ons. This is American brilliance at its best, and we are going to show the world how to win with digital assets like never before. So we heard from Trump back in June regarding this, and he's very eager to sign Genius into law. And again, even if Clarity does take a few, more weeks or so, whatever, maybe it takes a little bit more time, the main thing here is what Genius does. So if the Genius Act gets signed into law, I do expect Ripple, Circle, very regulated and compliant stablecoin issuers to have a massive green light, and they will grow substantially, which will also lead to the underlying networks in which they are using also growing in a big way and becoming extremely bullish. I'm more so looking at XRP, I'm looking at Ethereum, I'm looking at the underlying networks where stablecoins have been very huge winners on. Now, obviously, we look at XRP quite a bit on this channel because, again, when we think about Ripple and even XRP, these are like two of the biggest pieces of crypto at this point. XRP has been around for well over 10 plus years. It's been, tried, tested, and it's become extremely bullish around institutional grade adoption of crypto. And when we also think about Ripple, Ripple has been absolutely killing the game. With ROUSD, I do think that Genius will probably open up the floodgates for Ripple in a big way. We already start to see Clarity becoming a reality with banks eager to jump in. And even over here, talking more so about the big banks, Eleanor Tourette did say the big three banking regulators, the US OCC, the Federal Reserve, and the FDIC Gov just issued joint guidance on how banks should approach custodian crypto assets. The guidance doesn't create new rules, but reaffirms that banks must apply existing risk management, legal, and compliance frameworks when holding crypto on behalf of customers. Banks can hold crypto for customers in fiduciary or non-fiduciary roles, but must follow existing laws and risk management principles. Key risk for banks to consider: cybersecurity, cryptographic key control, volatile markets, AML, CFT, and OFAC compliance, third-party oversight. If a bank holds the keys, it holds the liability. Full control equals full responsibility. An interesting nugget in this section, the guidance says that banks must ensure that only they, not even the customer, can access the keys, which they call the standard for true control. Now, this is crazy to me because it reinforces the fact that cold storage is so important, guys. If you are in crypto, please learn how to cold storage your crypto. Jump into a DCENT wallet or a ledger. I have links down in the description below if you guys do want to tap into those, but I'm telling you guys, cold storage is so crucial. Do not tap into a bank to hold your keys. Again, it's just ridiculous. I do think that this is where most of the crypto investors will probably hold their crypto, and I'm talking about the new crypto investors that are jumping into the space, not us, because the OGs know that, not your keys, not your crypto. Third-party custody vendors are allowed, but banks remain on the hook for their actions and must do due diligence on them. Bottom line, the banking regulators will allow institutions to custody crypto, but it will be a highly scrutinized, high liability practice. But this is a huge green light to banks jumping in on crypto. Also at a time where BNY was just selected as the primary reserves custodian for ROUSD. And when we think about this, a lot of people have been speculating. A lot of people have been speculating on the fact that NDAs around Ripple could be expiring, which is why we're now starting to see these big announcements happening. And if we think about those NDAs, there is 1,700 plus contracts. A lot of people were wondering what these contracts actually were. We have here Defendants offer the testimony of Alan Schwartz, a professor of law at Yale Law School and professor of management at the Yale School of Management, who opines on 1,700 written contracts related to Ripple's XRP distribution. We know that Ripple has been distributing XRP to institutional clients. When we think about those 1,700 contracts, these are NDAs, they could soon be expiring, which is why we could be starting to see announcements like this more often. But also the fact that BNY announced this, and even over here on BNY, it's their, pinned post. The fact that this happened, think about how many additional institutional names are looking at this and putting a spotlight on this, saying, maybe we should look into this. I don't think that this is going to be the last announcement. I think that we are about to see a flood of institutional players jumping into the space, not just around Ripple and ROUSD, but I definitely think that we are going to start to see this market really open up around the institutional side. And Ripple has always been at the forefront of this. It's the number one reason why XRP was always coined the, banker's coin. Well, guess what? It pays to be first. And XRP was one of the first ones catering to institutional clients. Now everyone's going to realize why this is so bullish today and why it was even more bullish back then. Because early investors were able to tap into XRP at fractions of a penny or even at, maybe 1 cent to 10 cents as well. It's not too bad. And they saw it then. Today, we still see this and we still have an opportunity. I still think XRP is extremely cheap compared to where we are headed. But also, on top of this, we have over here, Ripple works every day with banks that use its technology. Not my words, Brad's testimony. Check this out. This is actually from Bill Morgan. There are still people who deny Ripple works with banks, and they will still say it even after his testimony to the Senate. And yeah, this is from Brad Garlinghouse with his testimony. And here we actually have, these are not abstract concepts. We work every day with banks that rely on our technology to deliver real results in the global economy. So if we think about this at a time where banks just got a huge green light over here, right? And we go back 7 years ago to the list of all Ripple partnerships that were on their website. Look at all of these names compared to the names that we know of today. And we look at Ripple's website. A lot of these banks are no longer on there. We can't actually track and trace the partnerships that Ripple does have because Ripple is a private company. They don't have to be extremely transparent. A lot of these big banks probably have NDAs as well. Think about where we are going from here. We have clear confirmation from Ripple CEO that they are working with big banks. We already knew this. We just got an announcement of BNY being the primary reserve custodian of ROUSD. We know that there's 1,700 contracts. Some of these are still probably about to, expire, which will lead to more announcements at a time where we are about to witness regulatory moves happen for crypto in a big way. And Genius will most likely get signed into law extremely fast. The market structure bill, I think still by the end of September, we have it. I mean, guys, the environment around crypto assets and utility-based plays is so bullish right now, especially XRP. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. Peace out, guys.